Let's chat a little bit about the notable thing of Adam being shy. Right, this is pretty well reported on, and Chris is not, obviously, and so this is almost like opposites attract, which is so funny because I'm the not shy one, my wife is the shy one, so I'm in the same relationship, I think. But Adam, you've been pretty reclusive. I don't know if that's the right word, but as a songwriter, you also have to deliver the songs as you just said and be entertaining. How do you do that from a place of shyness?
Chris, I've had a difficult time with that. I think a lot of nights there's something about being on stage that can help bring me out of that for some weird reason. But it hasn't been that way all the time. I mean, I struggled with it for years. I still do. Um, where I would just be really awkward, and I would want to not be, but
Right.
people who I trusted said, "Yeah, you got this problem with just learning, you know, the mechanics of performing and writing. Always seemed easier, I guess, to me than that.
Is it
But
social anxiety that you're dealing with essentially, or
I guess, man, I think I just always had that kind of personality that I was
yeah?
just kind of and I don't think I don't know what makes a person shy or outgoing or whatever, but I think it's just kind of who we are. You can't really can't really if you could make yourself the way I think everybody would probably be a lot different, than if because a lot of I think we often don't like things about ourselves that kind of make us you know are able to be helpful to other people.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, I just there's if there were a lot of performers and artists who I admired, Texas ones especially, who are very shy, um, who people said were very shy, who uh, who were stars, because they changed into something else on stage, you know. And I don't know if that's me, but that's something that I always thought was cool about show business
Mm-hmm.
was that was possible. You know,
That's
and
called
I'm
being
not
an
going to
ambivert, by the way. When you're an
what?
There,
What's
introvert,
that?
is there a word for? I'm an extroverted introvert, but what's an ambivert? Tell
so
me
an
some of
What's
that.
that?
ambivert
What
is
does that
somebody
mean?
who does both, who can do
Oh,
both.
okay. Well, then that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I take it a different way. But with Adam, in this world, in this day, and even 20 years ago, or even when I met you, what, 13 years ago, he might be perceived as he's shy for sure, but he's
Yeah.
also you have to wait and be patient.
Yep.
And in this day, people don't like to
I
wait.
agree.
And I've had to learn that on stage with him. I miss he says some zingers sometime, and it's like I go home and God, I miss that. I stepped all over that or whatever. You gotta, when he's gonna say something, he's not just a jabber mouth.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna say something that with some substance, some
Yep.
weight, and some depth. And so the patience of the other person, I've seen it around when we're with people, and it's like they don't have the attention span, and that's not an Adam problem
Nope.
far as I'm concerned.
No, it's
That's
not.
somebody else that is waiting to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They're excited or whatever it is. They want you to meet their energy. And anyway, so yeah. And when I met him, though, he was pretty shy.
Well, I
But
wanted
I think
to
some of that was self protection of like, I just
absolutely.
want to deliver the songs. I want to come and play the show. And he'd say that to me. And I was like, well, we're missing a whole opportunity here to work the merch and talk to the people a little bit. And so I kind of came in on some of the business end of things to say that's an important thing. And over the time through practice, that's where the lad goes. My husband goes right to to meet the people and work the merch. And I think, it's part of practice too.
Well, and I think too, and sorry to interject,
No, get it.
Chris. And I think, you know, it's not anybody else's fault that that I have that personality. But one thing I was thinking about before the interview is, you know, I sort of feel like that when I first started around here, um, I didn't feel like I had that many far as writing goes, songwriting. I didn't think I had that many peers who I thought were writing quality. So that sounds like an egomaniac, but I didn't think they were the writing. I didn't think people that I knew could write the songs that I thought I could write. Now I think that's not true. I think there are a lot of really good writers and artists, um, just locally. That it's just what I've realized over time is that I can't just have things the way I want them. I have to grow. I have to change. I have to adapt. You know, I have to I have to learn, like, what can I bring, not to be better than everybody, but what can I add to that people are going to want to continue to trust me with this. And so I think part of that is you know, just acknowledging that over the last 20, 25 years, people have gotten really, really good. And you have to work really hard, you know?
Yeah.
And.
One thing I wanted to say about Chris, because this is my wife's and I relationship too, is being extremely shy and kind of wrapped up in your own psyche, that imposter syndrome. It's very difficult to take a compliment as well. And
Yeah.
I know that you are adamant that Adam takes his compliments. You have taught him how to take a compliment better, at least from what I've read. That's really important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'm his number one fan. The
Right.
only thing is I wasn't quite thinking straight because he won't let me listen to his songs in the house. He doesn't quite like that very much. So I have to go to the car. But, um, yeah, that and I've watched him also, like he's just saying, worked on his inner getting connected to that deeper well inside and trusting himself. And yeah, no, yeah, but don't worry about it. He's pretty good. He knows what's going on. It's like we all have an ego.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, what am I aligning to? Am I aligning to a lie, to delusion? Am I thinking that I'm better than I am or worse than I am? Or yeah, but I no, I mean, I'm gonna go to blows with someone who messes with my husband. I'm just gonna do it, and he can fix it himself. I don't have to run to his rescue. Rescue. Someone said it from the show the other day. He was like, "I like that. I saw if anyone messes with him." I'm like, "No, I mean, I'm a road dog. I'm not gonna allow anything, but to happen. Not that anybody does anything to him, or he doesn't need a protector. But I do. I love him and respect him and admire him, and I believe he uh, writes songs that are he's a special songwriter, and that needs to continue. I've championed this job where he's tried to hang it up more than I can tell you or want to admit that conversations happen, and that I know that my role is to continue to support him in whatever way that is, whether I'm on the road with him or
Hmm.
making music with him or staying home with the dogs or and so to continue these songs to be written,
Yeah.
and that's him. He's got to do the writing. We write together. We'll probably talk about co-writing or whatever, but I get the privilege of doing that. And like calling back to what he said, it's a gift. I can't believe I get to do it. And then to do it with the man I love, with whom I love, what I love,
What a
the
special thing,
dream,
right? Yeah.
the dream. Yeah, yeah, it's so special.
Yeah. See,
And
when
what
I
she's saying, oh, sorry, I
go
was going to
ahead.
say what she's saying is we're out getting out of talking about beating people up. We're going to get into wrestling next.
Let's go.
Listen, we're gonna wear
Yeah.
sumo suits. We'll
Let's
just we'll
go.
just that's it. No, no,
Luchador.
all love.
We'll be
No
luchadors,
problem.
right? You guys can be
But I have
luchadors.
heard a lot of nonsense. You know what I mean? And people talk. It's like,
Hmm.
what are you talking about? Like have some respect. And so, but it's people say things before they
Yeah.
think about what they're going to
Well,
say.
I just read that that you've been helping him kind of accept compliments, and it reminded me of my wife. I've been with my wife. This will be our 10th year together, and I never had a woman compliment me before. And so like even 10 years later, and so it's really hard to accept that kind of talk when you're so used to not accepting it. So I
I
just,
still have a hard time. You just have to say thank
of
you. That's
course,
this
yeah.
easy thing to say, but it's like, oh, I like your shirt. Oh yeah, I got it down the street at 10 cents, whatever.
Hmm.
I've got a story. I got a story I gotta tell you. Instead of just saying thank you. Wow.
Hmm.
Imagine that if I just thank someone.
Yeah,
you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
And just trying to be kind, right? My wife and I try to be kind. Every time we leave the house, we find somebody to say something nice to, and it's kind of our go-to thing. That's why I got the sign. You are enough.
I love that I saw that you have a
Thank
you
you.
enough. I
Oh,
love that I see your
nice.
kitty coming through there. That's giving me good vibes
Yeah,
too.
that's our
And
new
it's
studio cat.
we need more love in the world,
I
more
agree.
kindness and compassion and more patience for each other.
That's
Yeah.
next. That kind of leads me into my next part of the outline here. Is you guys kind of finding each other. We all deal with our depression and our own mental health deficiencies. You guys have really helped each other through some of that, right?
Do you want me to go? You want to? He
Oh,
looked at me. He's like,
I
"Well,
just,
it's in your bio."
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I think, for me, you know, I think the thing I love about Chris is she does that for a lot of folks. I think she just cares about people. She doesn't really care, you know, what their status is. She just sees the person, and you know, when she makes that connection, she tries to, be nice to them and find something, be helpful to them. I think, and that, and I just get the benefit of that, being married to her. But I think that, yeah, I've had a hard time with depression and mental health stuff, and um, and I think um, you know, I think that you know, having somebody that understands that, and wants you to, be your best self, is really, another gift, that I get to have that, um, you know, and I think I don't get to, just do whatever I want, because I have to realize that I, have a partner, and you know, a team, a teammate, so I can't just do whatever I want, um, and what I want is to, experience joy and as much harmony as possible, and that's something that being with Chris has shown me that she just has a lot of goodness, and kind of sees that in other people, um, and so I just live with her, so I get to see it up close.
oh, that's
I
so
have to I
good.
have to confess, there are days when I don't appreciate it as much as I should.
Well, I mean, when
Uh,
you get your sainthood, we'll get you there. All right, like we're human. You're never going to rise above being a human being, and believe me, he should have left me at a couple of truck stops, Chris, by now. Like there was one for sure that he
One
was
for
still in
sure.
that car. I knew he was a gentleman when he was still waiting out there because he could have just kept going,
Yeah,
earlier in our relationship. Because it's been an evolution.
of course. Yeah,
It's been I've been, I think of myself as like I was a little bit more of a jagged edged, maybe stone that, gets washed by the ocean and rounds out the edges of the sea glass. And Adam did that for me, where I was one of those loudmouth, fast talking. Not, and that's why I knew to say that is like I was always needing to, and had to slow down, and he had to kind of giddy up a bit. The boys from East Texas, y'all don't like to be in a hurry,
yeah.
and so I had to kind of simmer down, and I had to settle down and kind of get a little more quiet, and then he ended up coming a little bit more out of his shell, and that has been our evolution, I think,
And that's
and
growth
growing
on
as
both
people. And
ends. On both ends, that's growth.
yeah,
That's amazing
and
stuff.
that work comes from independent. Like I have to do it
Yeah,
myself,
of
and he
course.
does it himself, and then together we have this great
And that
union.
just comes from
And
knowing what the other needs, right? Like it just what the
right,
other needs and loving that person enough to meet them there, I think, right?
yeah, wanting to do that,
Yeah,
wanting to know
absolutely.
that, listening to them, asking to them and what they need, and
Yeah,
wanting that. Yeah, I think making that decision all the time,
yeah,
and then translating that into work,
yeah,
with music,
of course.
it's the same behavior there.